Welcome back to Education Matters. Did you guess 2008? President Barack Obama defeated Senator John McCain in North Carolina 49.7 to 49.4, a 14,000 vote margin out of 4.3 million votes cast. 4 years later, Mitt Romney flipped the script and defeated President Obama in North Carolina by 2%, which was the second closest contest nationally that year. Now, in the first segment, we heard from leading voices from the progressive and conservative perspective. Now we're joined by two folks who know a lot about other things at the legislature. We've got Mark Jewell, who is the president of North Carolina Association of Educators, Leanne Winter, director of government relations for the North Carolina School Boards Association. Thank you both for being here. When I knew I wanted to talk about what might change in policy and education policy in North Carolina, you two came to mind immediately because you guys are as involved as anyone. So, Leanne, I want to start with you. School boards are actually, there can be all sorts of ranging sort of partisan and political viewpoints. But what are the big issues that the school boards are looking at right now in terms of education policy?
Well, I think you heard some of those earlier. School construction is a huge issue. We have over an $8 billion need. The General Assembly has not put anything meaningful forward in about 20 years. So we're looking at hopefully a combination of something like a large bond issue with some long-term commitment. Teacher pay continues to be an issue, as you already heard. Principal pay is a huge issue, and there is a study commission looking solely at how we pay principals in our state. We're 50th in the country right now.
Right.
And then I would say our immediate issue that we're going to work on first is there was a change made in how we do K-3 class sizes starting next school year, and we need to get that rectified, actually corrected.
Yeah, I read a couple of stories just in the last week about that. It sounds like at least some legislators suggested it wasn't some unintended consequences, but sometimes those don't get fixed either. So, can you explain a little bit more about that issue and how it would play out in someone's local school? Right.
So the way the change will play out is that money is generated in how they give us money for K-3 classes for your art teachers, your music teachers, your PE teachers. If it is not corrected, basically one of three things will have to happen. Either at the local level, the county commissioners will have to put in a major infusion of money to pay for those teachers, which is likely to be a property tax increase. Or number two, we no longer enjoy that meaningful part of our children's education and having those courses, or we increase class size in grades 4 through 12 in order to continue to have those teachers.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Well, speaking of teachers, Mark,
yes,
you represent the largest group of teachers in North Carolina with NCA. How did you feel about last week, and how are teachers feeling?
You know, clearly we're excited about what we feel is going to be the next governor of North Carolina, which is going to be Roy Cooper. He's had a career of fighting for public schools through his time in the General Assembly as Attorney General. We feel that his vision, one of the first things we're going to look for him to do is to address teacher pay in North Carolina, and that's a long-term strategic plan to move North Carolina to the national average and beyond. Everyone here knows as well as I do that we do have a huge teacher shortage in North Carolina. We're very concerned about the pipeline where our colleges and universities are not having the enrollment that we need to fill those positions out there. But it's also much more than teacher pay. We're very concerned about the resources for per pupil funding. We know that we're well below where we were prior to recession in 2008, and we've got to have a commitment for our resources in technology, textbooks, supplies, and materials.
Now, let me ask you, I mean, NCA has been pretty vocal about not being real pleased with some of the things that have happened in the General Assembly,
Sure.
say in the last 4 to 6 years. Do you see things changing? I mean, let's say Roy Cooper is governor,
right.
You're still looking at supermajorities in both the House and Senate.
You're exactly right. There's some unknowns out there, particularly who might be Speaker of the House there. We clearly feel that Governor-elect Cooper will have a battle of ideas, a debate which we need to have, which we haven't seen for the past 4 years since we saw a huge decrease in funding for public schools in North Carolina, and actually resources being channeled to private schools and vouchers. So we're excited about having someone in the executive mansion who will champion the causes of our 1.5 million public school students.
Right. Leanne, Mark mentioned private schools, vouchers. two other things that are coming your way, meaning the school board's way: Achievement School District, lab schools. Basically, two different efforts that would more or less take away local control of a certain number of schools from the school boards. What are your folks? Do they know? Do they understand? Do they have? How are they feeling about it?
I think they do know. I think especially on the lab school side, there is still a lot of uncertainty because the university system is really starting to put that together right now. They have developed the list of eligible school districts, and they've identified the schools of education that will be participating. So I think it's going to be a lot of conversation. I think they want to do it in a very collaborative way. The Achievement School District, we are still waiting on the superintendent to be named by the State Board of Education, and so we'll go down that road. But I think our folks are very well aware of what is going on, and especially on the Achievement School District side, they're very nervous,
Right.
Because that has not been as successful in other states that have had that program.
So what's your priority, Mark?
Clearly we've got to funnel, we got to recruit and retain teachers into North Carolina, and we do that with competitive salaries, we do that with great working conditions. Clearly we want to see master pay put back into the salary plan there. That's been a big deterrent where teachers can just go to Virginia and South Carolina and get, a substantial increase. And we are really going to be driving home resources. The textbook issue has been critical. We hear it from parents all the time that their kids are operating in textbooks that are 8, 9, 10 years old, history books. Technology, of course, needs to remain an issue, but we know that not all our kids have access to technology when they go home, so you need that hard copy and textbooks. And just plain resources, pencils, right. Papers.
Well, lots of work to do. Thank you both for being here today. I hope you'll come back. We'll have a lot to talk about when the General Assembly reconvenes in January. Stick around. When we come back, this week's Leadership Spotlight.